Hi guys. I hope you are having a nice day. I promised to work on a video to do with React routing, and we are here to do that. As you can see my screen, you will realize that I have a student list, right? Yes, so that's what we did in class the other day. And this application involves fetching data from a mock backend, that is JSON server, which is the db.json here. So as you can see, even from the terminal, it is actually running, which is actually the reason why you are seeing what you are seeing in the browser. And then we have our React application here, which is also running. So our React application, I did make some changes. I just created a new application with Vite React, not using the normal npx create. I'll always advise you to create an application using Vite React because it is actually lightweight. All right. So I will actually remove all this, just close all of them, and then talk about some of the things that you need to know first before doing React routing, right? Yes. So what is React router? Probably it is actually I can say a tool in React that allows you to create navigation in your application. If you realize your React application actually is a single page applications. And remember, you'll always need to create a full page where you can also navigate between pages, right? Yes. So for example, let's say if you check this application, let's say when I click on home, it should bring me to this page, and when I click on about, it should take me to another page known as about. So that's very important. So React Router actually makes sure that the right content is displayed without actually reloading the page, right? Yes. So when I click about, it should show the about page content without actually reloading this page, right? Yes. So here are some key concepts. So you can see we have the router. So this is the main component that wraps your application to enable routing, which is actually known as a browser router. And then we have the route and route. So it defines the paths and specify which components should render for each path. If you are talking about home, it should be // and then if you are talking about page, it should be /about. And then you have the link. So this one actually, remember the other way where you did in HTML and CSS, where you did anchor tag, which is a href. For this one, you'll no longer do that, especially if you are dealing with an internal link. So you'll just use link to. And then we have, of course, this one is not switch. Yes, I think this one I did write it. This one is for version, the previous versions. It should actually be just routes. And then we have use navigate. This one, it is a hook that allows you to programmatically navigate to different routes. Yes. So especially, for example, when a user, let's say, successfully logs in, you use navigate to enable the user to move directly after successfully logging in, to move from the login page to maybe a dashboard or any other page that you feel like the user should go to after actually logging in. All right. So now let's talk about the folder structure of our application. So I will have my pages here. So remember, the pages folder is a folder that typically holds the full pages, right? When I click on home, it should show that one is a full page. Same with about. But for the components folder, this is a folder that holds reusable pieces of code or pieces of UI snippets, right? Yes, for example, something like a footer can be used in every single page. So that one can be reusable. So components folder, it will be used to hold reusable components, and also pages will be used to have a full page components, right? Yes. So what I will do, first of all, I will remove the navbar here from the home page, and then I will also remove the import. So now my application will not have any navbar. It will have the home page is actually rendered in the app.jsx. You can see there. So what I will do, I will have, of course, you can see I have the pages folder in my app.jsx. This is where I will do all my routing, right? That is create all the routing. So I will do it here. So I'll remove the home, and then I will work on that here. And then I will also need, let's say, I will also need another component for the layout. So this one will enable us to have one layout for all our pages. Yes, remember, all the pages, or majority of the pages, always share the same navbar and the same footer. So that will be the purpose of the layout. All right? Yes. So what I will do first, I can work on the layout, right? So inside the layout, I will first display the navbar. I will render the navbar component, and also the footer component. The navbar and the footer component. So what I will do, let me just import all this. I'll say import navbar from, it should be navbar, by the way, navbar from /navbar, this is .jsx, and then I'll just replicate this for the footer, and then I'll call it footer. Let me just zoom in. Yes, I think this one should actually work. Yes, so I've imported all this. So there's also one thing that you actually need to add here in between the two. So remember, the navbar and the footer are shared between all the other pages. So in between here, you'll add what you call outlet. And outlet actually is coming from React Router DOM. Okay, so I actually forgot to install React Router DOM. Sorry for that. So I'll just go here, and then I'll say npm install React Router DOM. Yes, so we have what we call outlet, and it is actually very important. The purpose of this outlet is to ensure that the current route that we select is actually displayed. Yeah, so for example, when you go to your, sorry for that, when you go to your router here, to your page here, and then you say /home, or let's say /about, when you do this, it should actually display all, then it will actually display the component related to about. If you have a component known as about.jsx, it will actually display it. Yes, so when you say // it will actually display home. So that's the purpose of the outlet. It is very, very important. The purpose is actually to render the current route selected. So for this one now, I'm good to go for the layout. So I'll go back to my app.jsx, and then now create my routing. So first of all, I will start with all the importation, all the necessary importation from React Router DOM. So I'll say import, I'll say browser router. From React Router DOM, we have what we call routes, and then we have what we call route. So the browser router is the parent. So I'll remove all this, and then I'll say browser router. In between, we have the routes. This is the parent of all the routes. And then now inside here, you'll start with the parent route. So remember, our parent route is layout. So I'll come here and say route, and then I close it. Yes. So remember, this one is our parent route. So of course, every route has an attribute which is path. One of them is path, which this one, it means it is the parent, the home path, and then it has also what we call element. So for the element, you need to pass the element, or I can call it, you need to pass the component. So for me, it is a layout, and then that way. So by doing this, it should actually display something. Of course, why is it not displaying anything, I guess? So by doing this, you are actually ensuring that this one is the parent route, right? And then inside here now, you can have all the rest, all the other routes, and ensure that any route inside here now should be self-closing. Remember, this one was not self-closing because it was apparent for the rest of the routes. But for now, you can now have a self-closing. Yes, so because this one is a home page, I'll pass it as an index, that is for the path. And then for the element, I'll pass what we call, I'll pass home component. What else? And then I close it. And then again, just below it, remember I have two pages. I have about and home. So inside here, I will have another path. And then I'll call it, I can call it about. And then here now, I will have about, which I also need to import it. I'll say import about from pages / and then about.jsx. Oh, from, it should be a single, yes, this way. Okay, so I think by this moment now we should be able to see our page. Oh, I need to remove this, sorry for that. So let's check it from let's inspect and check the console. We are getting an error that outlet is not defined. Oh, I forgot to actually import it. So I'll say import outlet from React Router DOM. Yes, that was the reason, by the way. And then you come back here now, you can see now we are at home. That's why you can see we have our navbar here, and then our current route selected is an index, which is home page. And then you can see the current route selected is actually displaying this at our home page, and then you can see we have the footer below it. So when I go and say / about now, you can see now it is actually displaying about. So it's actually working. So if you add more pages, it will still work on that way. But now there's an issue that you need to solve here. You'll realize that I'm editing our routing here. I'm trying to edit it myself, like / about / and then /. But when you click on these buttons, it is not actually working. You see that? Yes. So now this is where the link comes in. This link. Yes. So the purpose of this link, it enables you to navigate in between your React pages. Yes, you are no longer using the anchor tag and then href. No. If you are dealing with React and you are dealing with your internal routing, which is these ones, you will need to use link. So now I will go back to my layout. Of course, I will go to my navbar, and then inside my routing here, I will have all of these converted to link. Yes, if you want to use anchor tag, which is a href, it is good when you are dealing with the external links. Yes, you can use it when dealing with external links in React, but when dealing with internal links, you need to use link to. Yes, of course, I need to change here. And remember, link is imported from React Router DOM. So I'll say import link from React Router DOM. So at this moment, when you come, of course, you need to add your pages here, your paths here. So when you go to your app.jsx, you'll realize that our home is actually the index. So this one can be the /, and then for the about, it should be /about. So I'll come here, I will say /, that is for the home page, and then for this one, I'll just say /about. So if you add any other path here, for example, you add another one, there's another one known as you can add maybe contact, anything, blogs, all that. You need to ensure that the path that you have it here is the ones that you come and add it in your navbar. All right? Yes. So let's check this now if it is actually working. So I'll click on home. You can see it actually takes me to home. I click on about, it takes me to about. So it's actually working very well. But there is another page that I wish we should actually add. All right? Yes. That page is known as no page. So no page ensures that in an event that maybe a user tries to access a non-existent path, which is not actually listed here, not listed inside here, you can see we don't have that path here. It will actually capture and give a reasonable kind of message to the user. So it's always good to actually do that. So I'll go here. I'll first go to my pages and create, in my pages, I create a page known as no page .jsx, and then of course I'll just generate a functional component. Yes, it can actually have a simple message like this, but I can little bit style it to make it a little bit fancy. So I'll say flex, and then flex row, and then I'll say justify center, and then items center, to center it vertically and horizontally. And then I can have a very big padding, which is padding of maybe 20 px. Oh, I can just say padding of 5. Sorry for that, I almost said 20 px, and yet I'm using Bootstrap. I can say padding of 20 and margin, padding of 5 and margin of 5. And then inside here, I can even leave this one the way it is. I think this one's okay. And then after creating the page, I will go to my app.jsx. I'll just replicate this. I paste here. And then for the paths now, remember this is not a specific path. This one is to capture any path that does not exist. So you need to use star, which means all. And then for the component, I will use no page. And you ensure that you actually import it here. So when you come now to your page, you will realize that it is actually working. Can you see that? Yes, so you can see it's actually working well. So anytime you use any route that does not exist, it will take you to this page. Otherwise, you can still navigate to any other page. All right? Yes. So, so to summarize this, you will realize that we created our pages here, all our pages. Home, about, yes. Inside our home is where we are fetching our data. I go to components, we have the layout, we have the footer and the navbar. And these two are actually rendered inside the layout. Inside the layout, we have the navbar at the top, the outlet in the at the middle. This one is actually to render the current route selected, and then you have the footer. So that one is okay. And then we also have the app.jsx. App.jsx does not have anything rendered, it only have the routing. So that's the part one of our routing. Another part of routing that I want us to talk about is talking about dynamic routing. So remember, in the near future, for example, if you can see these people, you can see this data that I've rendered here. That is inside my home.jsx. Let me just print something after the image, something like an H1. I just want to print the ID. I'll say student.id. Yes. Where is it? Let me just refresh. H1. Oh, it should be student. Sorry for that. It should be. Oh, it was actually Y. So don't worry about that. It should be Y. Sorry for that. Yes. So you can see it's actually displaying the IDs of each individual items. So what if I want, when I click on each individual items like this ones, it takes me to another page. Yes. And then the URL will be / the ID of that specific item, and then when that page opens, it actually displays that specific item. So how do you do that? So so you use what we call dynamic routing and what we call the use of use params when dealing with dynamic routing. So for example, so what I will do, I want, when I click on these individual items, it takes me to a page where it is like / student and then / ID of that specific student. So I'll just come back to my pages here, create a new page. I'll call it student.jsx, and then I'll just generate a random data here, a random function, and then I'll go back to my app.jsx, create a path for it. I'll just create it on top of the no page here, and then I'll call this one student, and then for you to capture that specific ID of that student, I will say I'll pass a representation kind of variable to capture that. So you need to use a colon and any name that you feel like you can name that value. If you call it name, it's okay. Personally, I'll call it an ID because I want to get an ID from the URL, right? Yes. So, and then the element will actually be student. You can see that. Yes. So when I go here and I say student / an ID of 1, of 2, okay, I did not import student, sorry for that. Okay, student is imported. Yes, when I say student /2 or even / anything, it will still open this page. Yes, but now remember, I don't want to change it here. I want, when I click on each of these, it takes me to that page. So of course, you'll also use what we call a link. You'll still use the link. So I'll go back to my home where I've rendered my items. So where I've rendered individual student. So I'll just come to these divs. I will actually rename this div to be link. Remember, it has no effect. The styling will remain the same. So I'll just call it link. The only difference is that it will allow us to navigate to another page. Yes, so I'll say link to. So remember, I need to say navigate to /student / specific ID. If it is an ID of 1, oh sorry for this, let me just remove this one. If it's an ID of 1, it should actually pass an ID of 1 here, student /1. If it's an ID of 2, it should actually do the same. So that's what that is dynamic. That means in my routing, I will need to use string interpolation for me to pass dynamic ID. So I'll say slash student and then slash, and then I'll say y.id. Yes, remember this y.id is this one. Yes, it's a representation of each individual student. Yes, so this one now will enable me to navigate to that page, passing the ID of that specific student that you did click. So I'll just come back here, click on this one. You can see it goes to student/2. It's actually giving me no page. Sorry for that. Let me check again my routing here. Student, it is student ID. Okay, so let me just come back here. Okay, I think there's a problem with, okay, so it's now working well. So when I click on this, it will take me to the student page and then the ID of that specific student. So when I click at student number 6, you can see it is actually passing number 6. So the purpose, what happened here is because I did pass a representation of a dynamic value, which is this ID. Remember, the reason why it is able to do that is because of this colon and then ID. So now, what if I want to get this value, this one? So what you need to do for you to get that value, you just need to go to the student page, and then inside here, I will say const. We use what we call use params. So I'll say ID. So the reason why I'm saying ID here is because I did pass it here as ID. If you pass it as student underscore ID, that means here you need to get it as student underscore ID. All right? Yes. So I'll say ID. That is what we call destructuring. Remember, you can have multiple values in the routing. So that's why you can pass an ID and something else. So and then I would say is equals to use params. So use params again is a hook that comes with React Router DOM version 6. It enables you to get a dynamic value from the URL. So you can see here now, I can get this, and then inside my student, I can try to display it. So I can come here and then say ID. So when you go to this page now, you'll realize that it is actually now getting the value. So let me go back, refresh, and then when I click on number 3, it will actually print 3 here. You can see even from the URL it is still 3. When I click on 6, you can see 6 again, it is displaying 6 here. So this will enable us now to go ahead and fetch individual students for us to display. Remember, anytime you click on maybe each of these students, each of these people, when I click on this one, it should actually display for me everything related to this student and all his data. All right? Yes. So that is very important for you to note when you are talking about this dynamic routing. So this ID now will enable us to do that. So I will stop at this point for now. That's all about the dynamic routing and also the React Router DOM, which is routing. We'll talk about maybe fetching individual students now that we have this ID in the next lesson. Otherwise, have a nice time.